Duncan Wardle, welcome to the program. Look, you spent 30 years at Disney leading innovation and creativity, and your new book, The Imagination Emporium, talks about those times and some exciting collaborations like launching Buzz Lightyear into space with NASA or creating an Olympic swimming pool on Main Street, USA for Michael Phelps. It's fantastic. How did these projects and your time at Disney shape your approach to creativity and innovation today?
Yeah, it didn't start that way. I finished as head of innovation and creativity, but I actually started as the cappuccino lad in the London office. Used to get my boss 6 cappuccinos a day from Bar Italia on Frith Street. And about 3 weeks into the role, I was told I would be the character coordinator. That's the person who looks after the characters that walk around at the royal premiere of Who Framed Roger Rabbit in the presence of the Princess of Wales, Diana. I was like, oh, what do I do? And they said, well, you just stand at the bottom of the stairs. The princess will come in along the receiving line. Roger will come down the staircase. The princess will greet him or ignore him. She'll move into the auditorium. Now, how could you possibly screw that up? Well, that's the day when I found out what a contingency plan was, because I didn't have one. And so a contingency plan would tell you if you're going to bring a very tall rabbit with spectacularly long feet down a giant staircase towards the Princess of Wales, one might want to measure the width of the steps through which the rabbit has to walk down before he trips on the top step and he's now hurtling like a bullet, head over feet, directly down the stairs at torpedo speed towards Diana's head. Whereupon he was taken out by 2 Royal Protection officers who just flattened him. There's a very famous picture on Reuters of Roger going back through the air like this, 2 Secret Service heavies diving towards him, and a 21-year-old PR guy in the background from Disney going, shit, I'm fired. So I got a call from the CMO of Disney the next day. I didn't even know what a CMO was at the time, and I thought I was going to tell me I'm fired, and all I heard was, that was great publicity. It was like, who knew I could make a career out of this? And so basically I would say that I built my career on audacious, outrageous ideas that I didn't know I could do. And even today, I love doing things I have no idea how to do. So for example, the book, right? When you see a business book in an office, where is it? It's on the table on a bookshelf. Why? Because I'm busy. I've got things to do. My boss needs this by 3 o'clock. So I thought, okay, how can I create a book where you could read one page, know exactly what you need to get, but don't have to read the rest of the book today? You're a busy man. You're a busy girl. So I thought, okay, my mum's cookbook. You want shepherd's pie, you go to page 67. Well, the book is designed the same way. It's a bunch of innovation tools and creative behaviors, but you don't have to read the whole thing today. It says, if you've ever been to a brainstorm where nothing ever happened, go to page 12. Work in a heavily regulated industry, go to page 67. And then I've designed it for how people learn. So let me ask you a question. Close your eyes for a moment, if you would. How many days are there in September?
I would guess 30.
Okay, keep your eyes closed. I want you to think about how you might have known that, how you remembered it, how you learned, or what you can see with your eyes closed. How do you know? How do you remember there's 30 days in September?
I don't. I just envision a calendar and I
Oh,
know
no,
that
so better than
yeah.
that, you've just answered the
Okay.
question. So 30% of the audience will go 30 days, has September, blah, 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 and November.
Okay. All right.
They're auditory learners. They learn by listening. How do I know that? Because they learnt it when they were 6. How do they remember it? Because they'd heard it. You ever seen anybody count their knuckles? January, February, March, April, May, June, July. About 30% of the audience will do that. They're kinesthetic learners. They learn by doing. You closed your eyes and you're 40% of the audience. You learn by seeing. That's how you learned it. So I thought, how do I create a book that appeals to all 3 learning styles? So again, having never done this before, I put a Spotify playlist in each chapter with a QR code with a playlist for auditory learners. I went into a green screen in Los Angeles with a bunch of characters I've created for the book, and we created a series of animated videos that pop up through QR codes through each chapter for the visual learners. And for the kinesthetic learners, I'm working like mad with a team out in South Africa. I've got 9 days left to program what will be one of, if not the very first, fully integrated artificial intelligence books published in the United States of America. You will be able to ask the book questions through WhatsApp and it will answer you through ChatGPT. And hopefully that will be ready by December the 10th. So to me, it's about doing things, when I pitched NASA when I said, hey, let's send Buzz Lightyear into space, I hadn't had the conversation with NASA. When I said, let's do a swimming pool for Michael Phelps, I hadn't talked to Michael Phelps. I live by the quote by Henry Ford, whether or not you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right.
So that would be your advice to anyone hoping to spur creativity and success in their business or their lives even, is to kind of go for it in a sense?
Yeah, Yes, somebody texted me today and asked me for some ice. He was a creative director and he was struggling with the strategic review process. And I said to him, the single most successful viral video I ever produced at Disney was because I didn't go through I stuck my neck out and
Right.
I didn't go through the approval process.
Right.
And yeah, did I get in trouble for it? Yeah. Is it the single still that after 8 years, the most watched viral video Disney ever produced? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to stick your neck out. So here I am. I've never written a book before, never worked with AI before, never been an animated character before. Why not? To me, I love the ideas that you would walk in, pitch the chairperson on the idea, they'd approve it, and you thought, shit, I have no idea how to get this
Right.
done. Those are the ones that keep us alive, right?
Right. All right, so you can see that this is an innovative approach or a different approach to what you might call a business book. Essentially, though, I liked your analogy of it being a recipe book. Can you share one recipe from the book that anyone could try to boost their own
Yeah.
creativity?
Yeah, so what if? I love breaking rules. We all work in heavily regulated industry. This tool was created by Walt Disney. Now, the tools are designed with three aspects: simple, powerful, fun. I wanted to take the intimidation out of innovation. I wanted to make creativity tangible for people who are uncomfortable with ambiguity of grey. Far more importantly, I want to make the process fun. I want to give you tools you enjoy using, right? So this one was created by Walt Disney for the film Fantasia. He wanted to pump mist and heat into the theatre, but the theatre owner said, "No, Walt, that's not the way we do it here. We tried that last year. That went, the classics." So step one, list the rules of the challenge you're working on. Don't think about them, just list them as quickly as you can. Otherwise, you'll start thinking of all the reasons you can't break them. So Walt listed all the rules of going to a movie theatre. I must sit down. It is dark. I can't talk. I have to go at a set time. I, Walt, cannot control the environment in which people experience my product. So and then list the rules. Pick one and ask the most audacious, outrageous, provocative what-if question. The more provocative, the further out of your river of thinking, your expertise and your experience you'll jump. So Walt chose the environment. He said, well, what if I could control the environment? Well, that wasn't provocative enough. Besides, he didn't know the movie theatre. So he said, okay, if I can't control the environment, what if I take my movies out of the theatre? If you know the answer, you're iterating. If it scares you, you're innovating. And somebody said, well, how are you going to do that? Well, they're two-dimensional. They'll fall over. He said, what if I make them three-dimensional? Well, how are you going to do that? Well, what if I dress people up in costume? I could have pirates and princesses and cowboys. But you can't have Cinderella standing next to Jack Sparrow. Well, what if I put them in a different themed land? Ooh, what if I called it Disneyland? Ooh, we're done here. Simple, powerful, fun. Now, let me ask you a question. Did you used to go to Blockbuster Video?
Of course.
Did you ever pay a late fee?
Of course. And I didn't rewind either.
Right, so Reed Hastings was very tired of paying late fees. So he used the same tool as Walt had used before him. He listed the rules of going into Blockbuster Video. I must drive to a physical store. I must go during opening hours. They have a limited stock. I never get the one I want, etc. So he chose the store. And in 2005, he said, what if there was no physical store? And so he looked outside of his industry. There's another tool in the book called Warehouse, which is about looking outside of your industry for insights for innovation. And there was a young company called YouTube that was 7 months old in 2005. And he said, well, wait a minute, they're only streaming amateur content. What if I just did a deal with the movie studios? I'll just stream professional content. Nobody would have to drive anywhere. I'll be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'll have an unlimited content. I'll cut the rental off at 24 hours. Nobody pays a late fee. I'll call it Netflix. I'll take my idea to Blockbuster Video 5 times. They'll turn me down 5 times and I'll take them out business in less than 5 years. Now, there'll be a lot of your listeners today saying, oh, but that's Disney and Netflix. We don't have the resources. So I'll give you a small example because I want
Okay.
people to know they can use it. Very small company in the Great Britain in the late 60s that used to make glasses that we drink out of. But they found there was too much breakage and not enough production when the glasses were being packaged and shipped. So they went down to the shop floor, observed the process and wrote down the rules. 26 employees, cardboard boxes, 1 conveyor belt, 12 glasses to a box, 6 on the top, 6 on the bottom, glasses separated by corrugated cardboard, glasses wrapped individually in newspaper, employees reading the newspaper. So somebody asked the somewhat provocative what-if question, what if we poke their eyes out? Well, that's against the law and it's not very nice. But because they had the courage to ask the most absurd what-if question of all, the lady sitting next to him immediately jumped out of her river thinking, said, well, hang on a minute, why don't we just hire blind people? So they did. Production up 42%, breakage down 26%, and the British government gave them a 50% salary subsidy for hiring people with disabilities. Step 1, list the rules of the challenge you're working on. Don't think about them, just list them. Step 2, pick one and ask the most audacious what-if question.
I like what you're saying there. And, often I will encounter a mindset among folks that look at those problems or look at the rules and immediately jump to the conclusion, well, that's just the way it is. We can't break that
Right, so,
rule. We can't do
okay,
anything
so,
different.
all right, so let's, here's another tool, and this one can change a corporate culture overnight. Now, Kevin, I'm going to come at you with some ideas for a birthday party. Would you like it to be a Star Wars themed party or a Harry Potter themed party?
Star Wars.
Okay, so I'm going to come at you some Star Wars ideas. I'd like you to start each and every response that you've just referred to. No, because. Right?
Oh, okay.
And then you'll tell me why not. But the first two words you'll use are no, because.
Right.
So I was thinking we could come to your house, we could blow up the whole house, turn it into the Death Star, and actually have a Death Star canteen. And we could have an intergalactic food and wine festival with food and wine from Hoth and Naboo and Tatooine.
No, no, that won't work because I live in a small little apartment. I have roommates, and that would never work in where I live.
Well, what about a glow in the dark lightsaber fights? We could actually all make our own lightsabers and have them the colors we want.
Well, that would never work. I don't think that glow in the dark would work very well, just because I think that the colors are distracting, and I don't think the guests would like that very much.
What if we did a cosplay party? All the tall people could come as Vader, and all the little people could come as Ewoks.
Well, that'd be okay, but isn't that sort of discriminatory against the different types of people that we have? We would never want to do that.
Oh well, what if we just show the movies and give people some free Coke and popcorn?
Well, that'd be okay, but that would never work though. It's kind of boring.
All right, so we'll stop
Right.
there. Two things. What
Right.
happens to you when somebody's constantly shooting your ideas down?
Oh, well, you finally get discouraged and stop even bringing up your ideas,
Yep.
right?
And would you say our idea then was it getting bigger or smaller as we were going along in this
Smaller.
direction?
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to give you a different tool,
Okay.
one which I believe can change a culture overnight. Can we do a Harry Potter party?
Sure.
Excellent. I'm going to come at you with some ideas for a Harry Potter party. I like the Star Wars party where you started with the words no because. I'd like you to start with the words yes and. There'll be the first two words you'll use in each response will be yes and we'll just build on what each other
Okay.
give each. All right. So I was thinking, where could we start? Gosh, oh, we could have a long stretching dining room. We'd actually have the candles float down from the ceiling on drones to look like the floating candles.
Yes, and we could even have the Sorting Hat and the different characters of all the different professors all around the rim of the room as well.
Oh, yes, and the sorting hat can actually choose, and all the good people get the Gryffindor party, and all the bad people get the dark, mysterious Slytherin party.
That's right, and the Slytherin would have to eat this disgusting food.
Oh, yes, and we could have a magic potions room full of our favorite cocktails that turn us into something totally freaky.
All right, that's cool. I'd love that. But we have to have those little, what are those plants that scream? We have to have some of
Oh,
those.
yes, yes, okay. So we'll stop there. So a lot more
Right,
laughter, a lot more energy. Most of
right.
us became Italian for the first time today, waving arms. Let me ask you a question. Bigger or smaller this time? Which
Bigger,
direction will we head?
bigger,
Okay.
yes.
And we work in large industries, small industries. We have compliance training. We've got constituents to bring on board. We have
Mhm.
regulations to bring on board with our ideas. Whose idea was that by the time we finished building it?
It was all of ours. It was mine or whatever. I felt invested. Yeah,
It's our idea, right?
our
Two
idea.
simple
Yeah, yeah.
words from the word of improv that can transfer the power of a small idea into a big one really quickly,
Hmm.
but far more importantly, transfer the power of my idea, which never goes anywhere inside a big organization, to our idea and accelerates its opportunity to get done. Just remind yourselves and your colleagues who tend to constantly think about reasons why it can't be done. We're not green lighting this project for execution today. We are merely greenhousing it together using yes and.
Yes, and that reminds me of the principle of improv, acting improv, comedy improv. You would never
Yeah.
be in an improv group and do the first option where someone comes at you with a scenario and you just shoot it down. That would never work as an improv
Yeah.
group, right?
Yeah.
But the
So
idea is that
basically,
you
yeah.
support, you say yes, and you build on top of it, and the next thing you know, you have this wonderful improv that's underway.
So the other one I always hear is, "Oh, we don't have the resources." Like, oh, okay.
Right.
So who are the most creative people you've ever come across, by the way?
I think actors, musicians, artists, yes.
Well, there's another group. They're usually about that tall. Who are they? They're around us every
Children.
day. Children, and how much money they got? Oh, that's right. They don't have any.
Right.
When you were, so when you were a child, you were given a box for a holiday. It was a big box, an enormous box, had the best gift in it ever, and it took you ages to take the gift out of the box because the box was the same size as you were. What did you spend the rest of the week playing with?
The box. Right.
was your fort, it was your castle, it was your rocket, it was anything you wanted it to be, till you went to the number one killer of creativity, Western education. And the first thing you were taught was don't forget to colour in between the lines. So, what
Right.
is the importance of playfulness at the right time? Well, I often hear the number one barrier to innovation is I don't have time to think. And when we say I don't have time to think, we're in the brain state that science calls beta. When you're in beta, the door between your conscious and subconscious brain is firmly closed. When that door is closed, you only have access to your conscious brain. That would be 13% of the capacity of your brain. 87% of the capacity of your brain is subconscious. Every meeting you've ever attended, every creative problem you've ever solved, every innovation is back here as unrelated stimulus to help you solve the challenge you're working on right now. But when the door is shut, you don't have access to it. So what do? I run an energizer. What is it? It's a 60-second exercise. The energizers are in the book. What are they designed to do? They're designed to make you laugh. Why are they designed to make you laugh? Because the moment I hear laughter, I metaphorically place you back in the shower where it is when you have your best ideas, where you can still make an informed decision, but you can still have a big idea because I've opened up the door between your conscious and subconscious brain. I do not expect people to be playful every second of every day. I do expect people to be playful when they want to access 100% of the capacity of their brain.
So what you're talking about is a hands-on, interactive approach to creativity and innovation. It's thoughtful, it's purposeful. How does that play out in large organizations like the Apples of the world, the Coca-Colas of the world?
Well, so yeah, I tried. So I was told one day, "Hey, you're going to be in charge of innovation and creativity." To which my exact response was, "What the hell is that?" And the direction was, we want to embed a culture of innovation and creativity into everybody's DNA. So the first thing I did was survey 5,000 people at Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilms, Disney, ABC, ESPN, and I asked them what were the barriers to getting in the way. Number one, I don't have time to think. Number two, we don't have the resources. Number three, we say we're consumer and client centric, but no, we're not. We measure by quarterly results. Number four, our ideas seem to get stuck, diluted, or killed as they move through our innovation process. And number five, each of the different divisions had a very different definition of creativity and a different innovation process. So I tried four models. Model number one, I hired IDEO. I said, hey, make me look good. Not quite, but they were very good at what they did, very expensive. But very good. The downside was they were never around for execution, and they would never really wanted to show me how they got to where they got to, because otherwise I wouldn't hire them again. So you thought, okay, I've moved a little bit of the needle. Model number two, we're creating an innovation department. Duncan will be in charge of it. What could possibly go wrong? Well, does anybody outside of legal do legal work? No. Sales? No. Marketing? No. So when you've got an innovation department, you've subliminally just said to the rest of the organization, hey, you're off the hook. You don't have to innovate. We've got an innovation department. So I thought, okay, that was an epic fail. Model number three, we tried an accelerator program where we'd bring on some young piece of tech, a startup. We'd take a 50-50 stake in their business. The advantage to them was Disney could scale that piece of business. And the advantage to Disney was they would allow us to scale it much quicker than we normally would, because they weren't encompassed by our river of thinking, our politics, our turf, etc. But we had failed in our overall goal, which was how might we embed a culture of innovation in creativity into everybody's DNA. So I set out to create a toolkit that takes the BS and the intimidation out of innovation and makes it accessible to normal, hardworking people by making tools that are simple, powerful, and fun. Taking creativity, making it tangible for 50% of the organization who are very uncomfortable with ambiguity and grey, and far more importantly, make the process fun. So much fun that we had a 3.5-year wait list for what was a voluntary 2-day training course. And then after I left Disney, working with Apple and Google and Nike everywhere, I said, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a book. And here it is. But it's not a book. It's specifically designed not to be a book, because I don't want it to be a book, because otherwise it'll end up on the bookshelf with every other book. I don't want people to buy it. I want them to use it. And that's why on the back there'll be a QR code which will be actioned by December 10th. It's free. You don't have to buy the book. You can ask the book questions. It'll answer you how to use the tools. Do you think that's mad? Yeah, probably. Don't care. Why don't I care? Because the most employable skill sets for the next decade are the ones that are being killed by education. How can I prove that? Well, I went to Yale University, spoke to 3,000 students. So, and I brought in one first grade class of 36-year-olds. I sat them in the middle with their teacher. I said, hands up, who thinks they're creative? Me. 30 little hands, didn't hesitate. The other 3,000 stayed down. Now here comes artificial intelligence. Well, I've been working with Google on their DeepMind project, and I asked the lead engineer, I said, How am I going to compete with what you're creating? How will we as a human race compete with what you're creating?
Yeah.
And she said, well, that's easy, dear. I said, oh yeah, go on then. What's that? She said, with the skills of the most employable skill sets of the next decade will be the ones that will be the hardest for her to program into artificial intelligence. I said, well, what are those then? I intuitively believed it, but I'd never spoke to somebody who's developing AI. She said, the ones with which you were born. Creativity, imagination, curiosity, empathy, and intuition. She said, will we program them one day? Maybe. Anytime soon? Probably not. But unfortunately, education is killing creativity. Nobody identifies as creative by the time they're 18. And when we're children, a small child, what's that one word a small child asks you again and again and again? A question. What is it?
What's the one word a small child asks you? Why?
Why? Because they're better than most of our data today. Well, that's a pretty unsubstantiated statement, Duncan. Surely you're nuts. Or am I? Well, no, let's see. Our data stops at the first or second why, and our data is getting better and better and better. But the 6-year-old goes to the sixth or seventh why. Why? Because they're after the insight for innovation. They're after the core consumer truth because they know you lied the first time. So if I were to survey 5,000 people and ask them why they go to Disney on holiday, the number one response I'll get is, oh, we go for the new attractions. Well, if I were only to rely on my data, I'd go spend $240 million on a capital investment strategy. But if I were to pause for just a moment and say, well, why do you go for the new attractions? Well, no, actually, you know what? I like the classics. Well, why do you like the classics? Well, I like It's a Small World. Oh my God, why on earth do you like It's a Small? Well, I remember the music. Oh God, no, not the music. Why the music? Well, it's my mum's favourite ride. We used to go every year. Every summer she took us. Why is that important to you 25 years later? I take my daughter now. Well, there's your insight for innovation. It has nothing to do with a capital investment strategy whatsoever, and everything to do with your personal memory and nostalgia. That's a communication campaign. But then we go to school, and the next thing we're taught to do is stop asking why, because there's only one right answer.
While we're talking about AI, and what a great perspective on AI and creativity, but at the same time, it is a great tool, a generative tool or for ideation and so forth. Tell me a little bit more about the role that you feel generative AI in particular will have on sparking creativity and being used as a tool for creativity and innovation.
The number one barrier when I walk into any auditorium and I ask, what's the number one barrier to stop you from being more innovative and creative at work? Over 65% of the room will say, I don't have time to think. Well, what do you think AI is about to give you? It's going to do your weekly reports. It's going to do your expense reports. It'll do your weekly meetings. It'll do compliance training. It's going to give us the biggest gift of all, the gift of time to think. I think that will be the biggest advantage that AI will give us.
The gift of time to think, and what a wonderful research assistant and creative assistant to have right there at your beck and call.
Yeah, I
Right?
was asked to write an article about why I thought that artificial intelligence could benefit marketing. This was for Adweek, and I thought, well, why should I write it? I'm going to ask AI. So I asked the editor, I said, hey, do you mind if I ask a ChatGPT? He said, no, go for it. So brilliant article, took, I don't know, less than 60 seconds as I recall. It was published as an AI article forwarded by Duncan Wardle, and I explained that I'd asked AI to do it. And it was brilliantly creative.
Where do you, where should we put ownership of content and intellectual property, creativity? Who owns the content that is created in this way? Is it you? Is it the machine? Is it all of us? How does that work?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question today. I think I'd be a fool to try because I'm learning it the same as you, right?
Hmm.
But I will tell you, I created a character for the book called Archie. And the reason I chose the character called Archie was because when you ask people where they are when they had their best ideas, 85% of the people would say the shower. So I created this character because his direct ancestor was Archimedes. Where was he when he got his best idea? He was in the bath. So I was drawing it, very proud of it. And my daughter comes in, she's about 25. She goes, Dad, that's an old white guy. You're an old white guy. You can't do this shit anymore. I was like, fair enough. I was caught and I didn't disagree. So I created 3 new characters. This is Nova. She's a robot. She introduces you to the innovation tools. Zing is gender neutral. Zing introduces you to the energizers. And Spark is masculine and introduces you to the creative behaviors. And again, it's about making it fun. It is designed as a workbook. And again, with the AI complement, you'll be able to kinesthetically ask the book, hey, how does that tool work? And the book, that I've already been testing, by the way, and it works extremely well. Where the ownership will lie in the future, I don't know the answer. And I don't think anybody does. Now, I do think, and this will be somewhat provocative, I think Hollywood's missed the bus. Why do I think Hollywood has missed the bus? Well, because I went to see The Jungle Book in 1968, and I went to see Wicked this week. Well, now what's changed now? Oh, that's right, the cigarette girl's gone. What else has changed? They have to go at the time they tell me, have to sit in the seat they tell me, have to watch the previews. There's nothing that's changed in that. So I don't know how much money Disney lost on Indiana Jones, but it was a bucket load. So Wall Street is probably going to say, don't do that again. So option A, you could go to another script writer and say, give it a go, good luck. Or you could go to ChatGPT today and say, write me a script, character development, and a storyline for a character called Indiana Jones. Let's set it in Berlin. Year 1932, we need to stop Hitler from becoming Chancellor. It needs to be an hour and 52 minutes long. Here's the backstory. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't. And base the character development storyline and the script on the top performing algorithms of the top performing action adventure shows, streaming or otherwise, of the last 14 months. Well, that's a 3-minute assignment for ChatGPT. Do we like the fact? No, we don't like the fact because it threatens us. But it's here. The coal miners went on strike in 1973. How's that industry doing today? I think we should embrace AI. I mean, I'm not frightened of AI. I'm frightened of man's stupidity. I'm not frightened of AI in the slightest. They gave us a vaccine in 6 months for COVID that used to take 10 years. Now, I mean, look, forgive me, I try not to use it. Let's call it a famous actor who exists today rather than name them. I don't need them anymore. I need Peter Smith. Well, who's Peter Smith? Well, Peter Smith doesn't exist, but he speaks 37 languages already simultaneously. He doesn't age. I don't need to pay him. He doesn't have wrinkles. And he doesn't take bathroom breaks. You know what? I report to Wall Street. I'm going to give Peter Smith a go. We may be uncomfortable with it. But it's here. So it's a question of getting on board with it, and how might we embrace what's coming and technology. So here's what, now this will be a wacky version of where I think the human race is headed 200 years from now. I do not believe your grandchildren will hold an iPhone in their hand. I believe it will be embedded within them. That is then the Neuralink, which obviously is only piloted. So 200 years from now, I believe that the human race who seeks older, better health with their pacemakers, their cataract surgery, their prosthetic limbs, a heart is a pump. At some point in the next 100 years, they'll figure that one out, and you'll just pop it out like a second-hand tire. We will bring in, AI will bring in algorithms, etc. The human race will bring in intuition, empathy, curiosity, creativity, and empathy. We will merge to become a superhuman race. Now, that's a little far out there, but 200 years from now, I'll take that bet.
We have been speaking today with Duncan Wardle. Duncan is a renowned innovation and creativity expert. He's a former head of innovation at Disney, a 3-time TEDx speaker, and the author of the book, The Imagination Emporium, Creative Recipes for Innovation. Look, the book is designed to be an immersive, interactive experience for readers. It's got elements like QR codes, Spotify playlists, video. Look, it's going to be an important book. It is The Imagination Emporium. We're here with Duncan Wardle. And Duncan, before I let you go, we've reached the action item round of the program. I'm wondering if you could please provide us with 3 quick action items that our listeners can use to begin to take advantage of your ideas and advice.
Don't let "no because" be the first 2 words out of your mouth when somebody walks into the office with an idea you're not thinking of. Just remember, it's just an idea. They may have genius 2 minutes from now, 2 hours from now, 2 days from now. They're not walking back in your office if the first 2 words out of your mouth are "no because." Try yes and. That would be number 1. Number 2, there's a great expression in London called there's no present like the time. I would reverse it and say, there's no time like the present. I would reverse it and say there's no present like the time. Give yourselves and your teams the gift of time to think. 1 hour a month, the first Friday of every month, brown bag breakfast, real or virtual. Invite your teams in, no PowerPoint presentations, no why is it good for the business. Have them come in and talk about something they've seen in their personal life or their business life that they think is innovative or creative. You'd be amazed at the amount of the new energy you bring back into the business. And fresh stimulus. I think fresh stimulus is incredibly important. What do I mean by fresh stimulus? Well, when we always order the same thing when we go into our favorite restaurant. We know we commute the same way every day. We get in the same side of the bed every day. And when you commute backwards and forwards, we also know that our brain shuts down and we just get home and go, oh, how did we get here? Well, what happened? On the way home, because you went past the same stimulus day in, day out, your brain physically shut down and didn't wake up till you got home. No fresh stimulus in, no new ideas out. Take a different commute, listen to a different radio station, listen to a different podcast, get fresh stimulus into your lives.
That is Duncan Wardle. Get his book, The Imagination Emporium. Duncan, it has been fantastic speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you very much indeed.